If you've seen the latest pictures of Nicole Kidman, you already know why the internet is losing its mind. At 58, she is turning heads with an unexpected hairdo and a radiant energy that looks completely different from anything we've seen before. And now, everyone is asking the same question: what is the secret behind this dramatic new chapter? One Instagram post on June 7th, a photo appeared on Nicole Kidman's Instagram that genuinely caught people off guard. She was standing against a farm fence, wearing jeans, a blue button-up shirt, and white sneakers, with horses visible somewhere in the background. Her hair was loose and curly, hanging past her shoulders in its natural state, and she looked like someone who had absolutely nowhere to be and was completely fine with that. She captioned the whole thing, "Weak vibes," posted it, and fans ate it up. The comments poured in pretty fast after the picture went up. People were saying how much they loved seeing her like this, and how much they had missed those curls. One person said they love her natural hair, and many said she looked incredible with weekend curls. And the reaction made sense, because for a long time everyone had grown used to seeing her with sleek, carefully styled hair, and the curls had become almost non-existent. A few weeks before that photo appeared, Nicole had spoken about this very thing in a May 2025 cover story for Allure magazine. During the interview, she watched old footage of herself in the 1990 film Days of Thunder and seemed genuinely caught off guard by her own hair. She told the interviewer that she had spent years straightening her curls and that she deeply regretted it. She said it had taken her a long time to make peace with her natural texture, and she turned that regret into a message for younger girls, telling them not to follow her example and to embrace what they were born with. She had been saying versions of this for years. Back in 2017, she told Who magazine that she felt she had tortured her ringlets to death and that she always warned others not to do the same. She also told the Sydney Morning Herald that she genuinely wished she had never started straightening it in the first place. The truth is, if there's one thing that Instagram photo she posted did, it was to remind everyone that Nicole did not come fully polished or composed like the figure we recognize today. In fact, not many actually know where she came from or how she was raised. Let's go back a couple of decades. Sydney, a stage, and a letter from Jane Campion Nicole Mary Kidman was born on June 20th, 1967, in Honolulu, Hawaii, but only because her Australian parents happened to be in the United States at the time, with her father there doing breast cancer research. The family moved to Washington, D.C. soon after, and then, when Nicole was around 4 years old, they returned to Sydney, where she would grow up. Her father, Anthony Kidman, was a biochemist and clinical psychologist. Her mother, Janelle, was a nursing instructor and a women's rights advocate. It was a serious, thoughtful household, full of books and conversations about the world, and Nicole and her younger sister Antonia grew up going out with their parents to pass out pamphlets at rallies and take part in their campaigns. It was not a showbiz upbringing at all, which makes the direction Nicole's life took all the more interesting. She was a shy kid, fair-skinned, and not particularly drawn to the beach-heavy social scene that defined Sydney summers for a lot of children her age. What she was drawn to was performing. She enrolled in ballet classes when she was young and later moved into drama, joining the Australian Theatre for Young People and working regularly at the Phillip Street Theatre in Sydney. At some point during those early theatre years, a film student named Jane Campion, who would later win an Academy Award for The Piano, was in the audience watching Nicole perform. Campion was impressed enough to send Nicole a personal letter of praise and encouragement afterward. That kind of attention, from someone with a genuinely exceptional eye for talent, meant a lot. When Nicole was 17, her mother was sadly diagnosed with breast cancer. She stopped working, enrolled in a massage therapy course, and spent her time providing physical therapy to her mother at home. Her mother eventually recovered, and Nicole, having put her ambitions on hold for her family, went back to building what she had started. She landed her first film role at 16 in the Australian family movie Bush Christmas in 1983, followed almost immediately by BMX Bandits the same year. She won her first Australian Film Institute Award for the television miniseries Vietnam in 1987, and she was learning and working and getting better, which meant she was ready when next opportunity arrived. Dead Calm, Days of Thunder, and Tom Cruise, the film that opened the door to the rest of her life, was Dead Calm in 1989. It was a psychological thriller filmed alongside Sam Neill, and it was a one-of-a-kind performance. An American agent saw what she could do and helped her make the crossing into international sets. She landed on the set of Days of Thunder in 1990, a big-budget racing drama with Tom Cruise at the center of it. Nicole was just 22 years old at the time, and Cruise was one of the most famous and powerful actors in the world. They fell for each other fast and hard, married on Christmas Eve 1990, and from that moment, Nicole became one half of the most scrutinized couple in Hollywood. By the early 1990s, Nicole was still working pretty hard, appearing in movies like Billy Bathgate in 1991 and Far and Away in 1992. But despite the steady output, critics and audiences had not fully separated her from the identity of being Tom Cruise's wife. She has spoken about how that kind of fame creates a bubble around you, deeply romantic and deeply strange all at once, with only one other person in the world who fully understands what you are going through. They adopted 2 children together, a daughter named Isabella in 1992 and a son named Connor in 1995. The turning point for her came in 1995 when she starred in a dark comedy called To Die For, directed by Gus Van Sant. Nicole played a woman of staggering ambition and almost cheerful moral emptiness, someone willing to go to genuinely disturbing lengths to become a television personality. The role required her to be funny and deeply unsettling at the same time, and she pulled it off so cleanly that the Golden Globe she won came as no surprise at all to all those who saw her performance. And just like that, all those who thought of her as being the other half of a famous couple stopped thinking that. They started to see her as someone who commanded attention completely on her own. But even as that recognition was building, the marriage was sadly falling apart. Running from her life, straight into her best work in 2001, Tom Cruise filed for divorce. Nicole described it as a genuine shock that took years to fully heal from and left her having to find her footing all over again. She was a 33-year-old whose marriage of 11 years was over, and custody of both Isabella and Connor had gone to Cruise. As years passed, both children became closely associated. With his Scientology faith, and the distance that formed between Nicole and her 2 eldest children became one of the most persistent and painful stories that followed her in the press. But Nicole was strong and didn't let all her woes hold her back. She instead threw herself into her work, at a pace that was frankly alarming in retrospect. In 2001 alone, 2 major films came out. Moulin Rouge, Baz Luhrmann's spectacular and completely chaotic musical, in which she played Satine, a dying courtesan performing love on stage while falling into the real thing off stage, earned her a Golden Globe and an Academy Award nomination. The second film was The Others, which was a gothic supernatural thriller set in a house that may or may not be haunted, in which she carried nearly every scene with an intensity that was genuinely unsettling. In 2002, she starred in The Hours, where her performance won her the Academy Award for Best Actress in 2003, and it remains one of the most discussed transformations in recent film history. She admitted publicly that she had been running from her own life during that entire stretch, using her characters as a place to escape while she was struggling to face her own reality. She said it took her years to stop running and embrace her life again. And yes, there was so much to feel sorry for her for, but that season, though difficult, somehow produced the most extraordinary work of her career. So, was her perceived suffering a good thing? Was it bad? Well, you be the judge of that. How's your heart? In 2005, Nicole attended the Day USA Gala in Los Angeles, an annual event that brings together prominent Australians living and working in the United States. She was 37 years old at the time and was 4 years out of a very public divorce, and by her own admission, she was still finding her way back to herself. Keith Urban was also at the gala that night. He was an Australian country music star who had built a serious career in Nashville, and the 2 of them had actually met briefly once before at a prior event, though neither had made much of an impression on the other at the time. This second meeting was different. Nicole told interviewers later that when he saw her that evening, he walked over and asked her how her heart was doing. It was an unusual thing to say to someone you barely knew. But Nicole was coming off years of real grief, and the question probably really made sense to her, so she answered that her heart was open. They talked for the rest of the evening, and Urban later said he went home and told a friend he had just met the woman he was going to marry. That kind of certainty sounds like something people say in hindsight, but the timeline suggests he meant it. They began dating shortly after the gala, and in June 2006, just over a year after that conversation, they were married in Sydney. The wedding was a huge event covered heavily by the press, and it seemed like Nicole was genuinely finally happy again. But the marriage was tested almost immediately when Urban entered rehabilitation for substance and alcohol issues just a few months after the wedding. Nicole did not walk away, though. She stayed and supported him through the process, and Urban has spoken about that decision in interviews over the years as something that fundamentally changed how he viewed their marriage. So, yeah, their marriage took a hit so early, but all it did was solidify their foundation. Not too long after, in 2008, they welcomed their daughter Sunday Rose, and Faith Margaret arrived in 2010. Nicole called Urban the love of her life in more than one interview over the years and described their relationship as one built on mutual understanding, partly because both of them knew from experience what navigating extreme public attention could cost a person. She was more settled during this period than she had been at any point since her early career, and it showed in the kind of work she was choosing. As Seichi didn't quit at 40, when Nicole hit her early 40s, she genuinely believed she might be done. She said she was at a crossroads after making Rabbit Hole in 2010, and that she could feel herself either solidifying her place in the industry or drifting away from it. She said women in Hollywood were being told in no uncertain terms that their 40s were the finishing line, and she had started to believe it. Her agent, Kevin Huvon, refused to let her settle into that thinking. He told her it was not over, that it was actually only just beginning, and Nicole's own response by her account was genuine disbelief. But he turned out to be right in a way that neither of them could have fully anticipated at the time. Nicole heeded him and went on to produce her own movies. Big Little Lies, the HBO limited series that premiered in 2017, became a cultural event. Nicole co-produced it alongside Reese Witherspoon, and she played Celeste Wright, a woman trapped in an abusive marriage who is fighting to protect herself and her children. The performance was honestly devastating, but in the best way. And it unsurprisingly won her an Emmy Award, a Golden Globe Award, and a Screen Actors Guild Award. 9 Perfect Strangers followed on Hulu in 2021, and 3 years later she produced Expats on Amazon Prime. During all these periods, she was receiving critical acclaim for her projects. First, Forbes ranked her as the 4th highest paid actress in the world in 2019. Even the New York Times named her one of the greatest actors of the 21st century, and Time magazine included her on its list of the 100 most influential people in the world. Again, none of these were surprising. The woman was on fire and everyone was feeling that heat. The year she called everyone's bluff in 2024, Nicole appeared in 6 separate projects. And none of these projects were small because she was either the lead or co-lead. First, there was Expats, a slow-burning limited series that she anchored entirely on her own. The Perfect Couple on Netflix was a murder mystery that became the most-watched original streaming series in the United States in its debut week. There was also A Family Affair, also Netflix, in which she played a woman falling for a much younger man played by Zac Efron. She starred in the animated film Spellbound and Season 2 of Lioness that came out on Paramount+. Finally, there was Baby Girl. Baby Girl is an A24 erotic thriller directed by Dutch filmmaker Helena Rain. Nicole plays Romy Mathis, a powerful tech CEO who risks her career and her marriage to pursue an affair with a much younger intern played by Harris Dickinson. She reportedly described the role as feeling genuinely dangerous to take on, which was precisely why she wanted it. The film premiered at the Venice Film Festival in September 2024, and Nicole won the Volpe Cup for Best Actress, the festival's highest acting prize. She could not attend to collect the award because her mother had just died. Baby Girl opened in theaters on December 25, 2024, crossed $21 million domestically, and became her biggest solo box office performance as a leading actress since 2008. It earned back its $20 million budget, was re-released in theaters on Valentine's Day 2025 due to continued demand, and earned Nicole a Golden Globe nomination and the 2025 Palm Springs International Film Festival's International Star Award. The film also earned its share of controversy, with some viewers uncomfortable with the age gap between Nicole and Dickinson, who is 29 years younger than her. Director Helena Rain addressed the criticism publicly, arguing that the discomfort people felt was itself worth examining, since films with older men and younger women rarely attract the same energy. Nicole also received the AFI Life Achievement Award in 2024, a recognition of more than 4 decades in the industry. The sequel nobody saw coming sadly. On September 30th, 2025, Nicole filed for divorce from Keith after 19 years of marriage, citing irreconcilable differences. It came as a surprise to a lot of people because as recently as June 2025, she had posted an anniversary tribute to him on Instagram, and the two had been photographed together at a FIFA World Cup match in Nashville that same month. The end of the marriage, when it came fast. The tabloids immediately went looking for angles. Reports surfaced claiming that Tom Cruise had complicated feelings about the news, with sources suggesting he felt a degree of vindication after years of being portrayed as the villain of their 2001 divorce. Other reports claimed the split had softened some of the long-standing distance between Nicole and her eldest children, Isabella and Connor, and that a possible family reunion was being explored. But through all these speculations, Nicole is buried waist-deep into her work. She wrapped filming on Practical Magic 2, the long-awaited sequel to the 1998 Witches film she made with Sandra Bullock. It is scheduled for theaters on September 18, 2026, and when filming ended, Nicole posted on Instagram to mark it, writing that it was a wrap and thanking the cast and crew for all their magic. The film brings back Diane Wiest and Stockard Channing alongside new additions Joey King, Lee Pace, and Maisie Williams. She was also on set in Los Angeles in April 2025 filming Margot's Got Money Troubles, an A24 limited series created by Big Little Lies producer David E. Kelley and based on a 2024 novel by Rufy Thorpe with a cast that includes Michelle Pfeiffer and Elle Fanning. Season 2 of 9 Perfect Strangers brought her back to Hulu in 2025 as the magnetic wellness guru Masha, with an entirely new group of guests arriving at the resort. Away from her career, she has held the Companion of the Order of Australia since 2006, the country's highest civilian honor. She has served as a UNICEF Goodwill Ambassador for years, and her daughter Sunday Rose, now 17, has begun her own public journey, walking the runway at Paris Fashion Week and modeling for Miu Miu. So obviously, divorce or not, the woman is doing pretty awesome. But what are your thoughts? Do you think Nicole's transformation finally made her into the most fearless version of herself? Leave your answers in the comments below. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Thank you for watching, and if you enjoy this video, please click on the next one on your screen.